I'd like to call to order this normally scheduled Brookfield Board of Finance meeting for Wednesday, August 13th. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We're all here except for Brianna. She had an engagement. Public comment. Seeing none, we'll move past that. Communication and correspondence.
Yep, we received emails from Andy Correa on July 20th, 22nd, and 31st.
All right, thank you. Approval of the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from July 9th, 2025.
Do we have a second? Eileen, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion
Probably
passes.
abstain since I wasn't here.
All right, 4-1 abstain, passes. I'd like to make a motion that we make a change on our agenda. We put the item solar energy up now. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're on to solar, Steve.
And I'm gonna try to get the speaker hooked up.
I should just plug in there somewhere. To let you guys. Why don't you come join us over here? So for those people who don't know, we have Greg Dombowski, our Economic Development and Projects Manager, and Julian Capados, who's our Purchasing Manager. And online, we have Adam Teff.
So I can't
He is,
hear anybody, I don't know if people can
your
hear
rep.
me.
For.
All right, hold on. Can you hear me? Cannot hear me.
No, it's not working, it says.
Oh, your microphone is.
He's recovering from COVID. He had it last week, his wife has it, so he's kind of
You don't want to
staying home.
Can you hear me? No, you can't. Can you hear me now?
Says mute as
Yeah.
well.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
We've got you, a speaker here, to try and hear you better, but right now we can't.
You don't have to press the button.
Okay, I
Just
can try to
turn it
speak
on.
up too.
Plug it
That
in.
helps.
All right.
Is it plugged into the microphone?
Yes, it
You know
is.
that? That doesn't have an on-off, it just is on.
All right.
Check your volume on your computer and see if,
My volume is up high. He
Hmm.
can hear me now. I had the external speaker and he couldn't hear me on that. For the external microphone, and he couldn't hear me on that as soon as I plugged your speaker in. All right.
all right, why don't we start? Adam can hear us, yes? Just nod.
Can you hear us, Adam?
Somehow you lost him.
He can't hear anything. He's hearing it.
Yep, I can hear.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, should we just go?
Yeah, just start.
Okay. All right, so we have a presentation that we'd like to make to you. It'll be the same one we made to the Board of Selectmen last Monday, and I assume we can pull that up and do that. The first slide is mine, and then I turn it over to Adam. It looks like some of you have that in front of you. Would you like me to get started or wait till it's on the screen?
Go ahead, start.
Okay. So, I'm going to be referencing this page here, which is the first page of your package.
Okay.
So, the town has been looking at renewable energy in general for several years. We've even spent a lot of time on EV charging stations, wrote grants for EV cars, EV charging stations, and the zoning commission actually codified that a couple years ago. Tonight's about solar panels. Another area that a lot of work has been done over the past couple of years. Renewable energy, just in general, is in the draft POCD. It's Chapter 10. And Titan Energy was selected by CCM some time ago to work with municipalities that don't have the skill set to help define projects, justify projects, and write RFPs. Not all towns use them. Many do. Back in October of 2024, Jules, I know you all know him, and Adam made a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. It was a general presentation just to introduce Titan and the concept of solar energy for municipal operations in Connecticut. Marcia and I, 2 weeks ago, called Mark Walter, the town administrator for the town of Columbia, who has used Titan, about coming up on 20 years actually. In fact, they are so pleased with them, they're using them again now because their panels are approaching 20 years old and they need to be replaced. Separately, I called the Westcog Executive Director, Francis Pickering, and I asked Francis, could you please give me the name of a local COG person I can speak to with some more experience in solar in general. In your package is a cut and paste from Fred Hurley, the Newtown Director of Public Works. I won't read it to you, but basically Newtown has put in almost up to 9 megawatts of power on about a dozen projects over the past 20 years. And I sent this presentation and the Titan agreement, not the Titan agreement, the virology agreement to Fred, and this was his email response. Since then, well, Adam's going to kind of take it from there, but basically we asked the Board of Selectmen for a recommendation for a bill credit share agreement with Virology to install solar panels at the Brookfield High School senior parking lot and on the roofs of both West Kinnear and the new school. We met with the facilities subcommittee of the Board of Ed yesterday, myself, Jules, and Adam. They made a motion to advance it to the full Board of Ed, which we're going to do next week. That's what our plan is. So with that, Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you. Adam is our subject matter expert in this area, and he's going to take it from there. If you don't have any questions, we'll do that. You good?
Sounds good.
Adam, it's all yours.
No problem. Thank you, Greg, and I apologize that I can't be there tonight. I'm actually just getting over COVID, and now it's sort of circulating through my house, so I figured it would be better if I stayed home. So I'm Adam Tepp, General Manager of Titan Gen. I work hand in hand with our municipal partners to run RFPs for projects like this. So as Greg mentioned, I won't go over everything he said, but we have taken a series of concrete steps over the last few months to get this RFP out, issued, host vendors on site to evaluate the properties that we were looking at. This was a result of evaluating over 100 different properties in town-owned properties for solar potential. The schools proved to be the most advantageous of that group, mostly due to their size. So the proposals that we received back in July, we had a chance to go through those exhaustively, vet each offer, vet the supplier, developer, the contracts, the economics of the deal, etc., and come up with a recommendation for the town and the Board of Ed to pursue Verigy as they're a West Hartford-based solar developer, vertically integrated solar developer. They would build, own, and operate these systems at the 3 schools. There's a little bit of nuance that we'll go through in the next few slides, but this is really just an overview of each location. Top bidder was Verigy. We can talk about the system size, etc. But the annual savings is broken out in addition to the 20-year savings associated with these 3 sites. We can go through and I'll explain how that modeling works, but the bottom line figure for the Board of Ed was just shy of about $8,000 per year, or just a little bit under $1.5 million. We can go to the next slide. So I want to explain the nuance of how these systems work so everybody has a good understanding of how the savings are realized and how these systems are built. So they are to be built on what's known as a front-of-the-meter basis. What that means is the electricity that's created by the panels is actually going directly back to Eversource. Eversource is the buyer of the energy. So for a 20-year period, Verigy will be able to sell those electrons back to Eversource at a fixed price for that 20-year period. and in exchange for allowing that to happen on town of Brookfield property, what the Board of Ed would get is utility bill credits back at the location where solar is installed. So what this means in practice is guaranteed savings, guaranteed revenue that lands directly on those utility bills that helps lower your balances each month. So there are some arrangements in which the system could be installed behind the meter. We did evaluate those opportunities to see if they made more financial sense, but the savings in that case were minimal, and in some cases actually there was a cost associated. So, and then there is some unpredictability related to behind the meter system, where the town would have to buy back the power from the system that's created, but there is a risk that the cost of that power could potentially be greater than the cost of the equivalent kilowatt hour from Eversource. So the fact that the front of the meter structure offers guaranteed savings, no price risk for town of Brookfield and Board of Ed, that was our recommendation to pursue that structure. Really what it comes down to is the incentive program that helps support these projects is called Non-Residential Renewable Energy Solutions. It's really shifted over the past three years from the program's inception to send more subsidy, more utility incentive towards front of the meter projects. And there's also an additional bonus for carport systems. So we're trying to take advantage of the program in its current form and extract the most value as possible. That's really today done on a program basis.
Hey,
You
question.
can go to
We're
the
all,
next
we're-
slide, but I'll also pause and just see if anybody has any questions so far.
Yeah, hey, it's Brian Hoffman. I don't know if you can hear me. My question is, were all 4 proposals that you received front of the, whatever you call front FTM
You can go to the
proposals?
next slide.
No.
There's a question, were all 4 of the proposals front of the meter?
So we gave the option for vendors to propose both front of the meter and behind the meter. Verigy was the only company that proposed behind front of the meter. The other companies proposed behind the meter only.
Why?
Why was that? I'll repeat the questions while I'm trying to figure out this microphone. Why was it that the others proposed the other way?
I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak for them as to why they didn't take advantage of a front of the meter opportunity, other than interconnection costs on a front of the meter basis can be a little bit higher, and that process can be a little bit more challenging with Eversource. So that might have given some folks pause. I think there's kind of an assumption in this industry that schools and towns prefer behind the meter rather than front of the meter because they want to be able to, claim that they're utilizing that energy themselves. So I think there's kind of just a default mindset that behind the meter is the way to go. And also in the savings analysis that some of the vendors provided, I thought that their numbers were a little bit overinflated, and behind the meter proposals allow for a little bit more artistic license, if you will, related to how you project what the annual savings are going to be over time. As a for instance, if you make aggressive assumptions about the future inflation rate on a value of a kilowatt hour from Eversource, you can really kind of blow open and expand your 20-year projections to look more significant than I think a more sober view would take. But again, I mean, the vendors were allowed to propose either way, whichever way they felt more comfortable. Verigy's offer was strong for behind the meter too, so it's they're a highly qualified group.
Hold on, Adam, you said they're strong, but if you...
Wait,
Here,
let me
I'll talk
test.
into it.
I've tried to change the speakers. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, I'm going to move this so it can go
Into the
down
middle,
closer
yeah.
to them.
You just said Verigy was strong at the other, but if I look at Brookfield High School, Green Skies is gonna straight up against Verigy behind the meter. they're gonna offer double at least the amount of savings. Why? You have 605 on Green Skies Life Savings, but yet 273 on Verigy, apples to apples. So to tell me Verigy's strong behind the meter, your numbers don't make sense in this bid tabulation.
If the town was picking a behind the meter option for the projects, then Green Skies did have a more advantageous offer. And then when we put together our projections for future energy savings, we assume 1.5% escalation factor on the relative cost of a kilowatt hour from EverSource. So there is some opportunity potentially for those savings to grow over time as the value of the EverSource kilowatt hour theoretically would increase over time.
So then, also looking at that, how did you extrapolate out the numbers? So Verigy, behind the meters, in your annual savings column, you have losing $9,000 a year annually.
That's
But
just
yet-
year one. That's just year
But
one.
I mean,
It's not
it says
everything.
annual savings,
I
so
know,
that
it's
should be
not.
an aggregate.
It's not.
That should be aggregated
It's
out.
only it's year one. It's not.
But why, I mean, if I were to extrapolate out $9,000 and times it by 20, I'm in a hole, I'm not ahead 273.
It's not. It's not.
So your bid results are very misleading. How do you look at this data and get anything out of it when I can do the math and it doesn't work?
Right, that's what I'm explaining. So the EverSource, we make a assumption of a 1.5% escalation factor on the EverSource cost per kilowatt hour column. If you look at that, it's 0.1334, right? And that's less than the PPA rate, the solar cost per kilowatt hour of in this case for Verigy, 0.1413. But if the EverSource rate escalates by 1.5% per year and the solar rate, all of these PPA rates are flat, then eventually, theoretically, the EverSource rate will be greater than the solar rate and therefore start producing a positive. So it would be overly simplistic to just take the negative 9,000 per year and multiply it by 20. And the other factor that we have going on here too that's embedded in these calculations for the behind the meter and for the front of meter is that you lose about 0.5% production every year from the solar array. So we have a few different variables here, kind of going up and down that extrapolate over the 20. And this speaks to, frankly, one of the bigger challenges, I think, for anybody adopting solar on a behind the meter basis, which is the utility rates can go up, down, left, right. I mean, there's a number of different variables in play that can influence that. One of your single biggest charges is a market-based charge, your supply cost. And we've had some years where that shot up, 20%, 30%, come back down. It can be a moving target. With the front of the meter, where with a fixed bill credit, you do strip out the market risk associated with the project. So, depending on how much risk you want to assume, then, I think you can make some different choices between front of the meter and behind the meter. But, we gave all bidders equal opportunity to propose front or behind. And then, if we're kind of getting into more of the behind the meter, there were some vendors who, like David Sills, for instance, on a few different occasions, and Smart Groups as well, that their designs were just way too big. Again, is something that we see frequently when people want to try to puff up their savings, and I view it as my job to be able to filter through and catch those things to make sure that what's being proposed is.
So is this their number or your number on this chart?
So their numbers are system size, annual production, which we vet, of course, to make sure that it's accurate. And then the EverSource rate per kilowatt hour, that's taken strictly, straight from the bill.
Yep.
The solar rate per kilowatt hour, that's their number. So we're just taking, the annual production and basically taking everything off the bills and off their proposals.
So you brought up Davis Hill, their number's the lowest on the Candlewood Elementary School, of the 1230s, the lowest of the behind the meters, and they yield the most savings. So is that an inflated number, or is that not an inflated number? Because you're saying the 1230, they inflate, but yet it's still lower than everybody on the solar side.
No, they're not inflating the PV rate. What I'm saying is when certain developers have a tendency to inflate the system size. So if you think about the system size and producing more than either the building can take or it's even physically possible to put on the roof, that's where.
So you vetted the system size and you vetted the annual KW. So why is Davis Hill more expensive? You seem to inflate, but yet that's the much better deal on Candlewood Elementary.
But so solar panels also have a known production, like a efficiency too. So, I mean, maybe those Davis Hill panels at 730, their system is a lot larger than the other ones that are, well, not smart roofs, but the other two virology ones, but it could be the efficiency of the panels. I mean, what I've learned in my own experience is that there's different, production rates and qualities of the panels that you buy. So maybe that's part of that, why they're proposing 730, a system size of 730, where virology's coming out with 475. So they're
No,
going to.
what was going on was they were overly aggressive in terms of their system size and where they were placing panels and how many panels they were trying to fit on that roof. If you're accounting for necessary setbacks for rooftop equipment, edge of the roof, etc., it was just whoever designed that system just put more panels than could ever be permitted on the roof.
So when they do the proposals, like for residential, I've learned that they can only project like 10 to 15% more than what your previous year's usage is. Do they have that same type of limitation on municipalities?
Yeah, so you can only go over 5%, but that wasn't the issue here. It was literally just a physical space. Like, it wasn't the designs were too big. Like when they would ultimately go to a third-party electrical engineer to get stamped drawings, it would not look like what was proposed. It would look more in line with Verigy or Green Skies, which was in the 475 or 60 kW. It was just too much.
So now these numbers are only on the supply, correct? Not on the delivery,
There is no delivery.
right? So there's
so and this is where the residential and commercial utility bills are affected by solar differently. So I know at times it can be tempting to take, what you may have learned on a residential deal and apply it to the commercial, but it doesn't translate.
Okay.
But we pay delivery and supply on ours, correct, Marcia?
That's correct.
Yeah. So what I did is I broke apart in your utility bill case by case, what your addressable kilowatt hour charges are, and that's a composite of, and it varies by rate class, so that's why you see each location has a different addressable rate. But it's a combination of your supply rate and a handful of the Eversource transmission and distribution charges that are affected by solar. And then the rest that are not or are intermittent or unpredictable are stripped out of that savings calculation. So we try to be as aggressive or as conservative as possible in saying, if you create 1 kilowatt hour of solar, what is the actual most conservative look at a value that Eversource kilowatt hours are?
So before more questions, let's break this down so I understand it and everybody else does. The project cost is about $3 million, just for the school, right? One of the schools, $3 million, right?
Just for Brookfield.
For Brookfield, yeah.
Just five.
We then get somebody's getting $30% $1 million credit on that. Who's getting that?
Yeah, so in the instance where Verigy owns the systems, then the investment tax credit goes
To them. So now that's the project cost is $2 million. Then you base it over 20 years where $2 million come back in savings at a 0.0375 cent payback to the Brookfield at a fixed ratio for 20 years. Correct?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I put together, I'm not sure if you had a chance to take a look at it or not, but
I have, yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand, and so I get it in my terms. So now, what is the sellback price? What money's being left on the table? What's the sellback price to Eversource right now?
yeah, so I don't know if you have those spreadsheets handy or not, but within those, you'll see for the 3 schools.
I see what we're getting, yes. What is Verigy getting?
Sure, so for the parking canopy project, the NRES rate for the power is 0.2456 cents per kilowatt hour.
So you know all
Yeah,
what Verigy's
absolutely.
getting?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I wanted to
Yeah,
confirm it,
and
but
then,
yeah.
and then just because it's helpful too, for the Candlewood and the Senior,
I needed to
that
understand
rate
how-
is 0.1889.
For the other two, it's both 0.1889.
Because they're rooftop projects in the carport, carports because they are, you know, historically significantly more expensive to build in rooftop. The state has enhanced the incentive for carports to help close that gap.
And how does that incentive change over time? So
It
that is,
doesn't. It's locked in for a 20-year period.
it's locked in, okay.
The $1 million incentive.
No, the 2.24.
Okay, let's talk the $1 million incentive, then I'm gonna let Brian
had to
talk.
get that
The $1
immediately.
million incentive that the president's trying to take away right now, when do we have to lock this in? And what are we using as leverage from the town? Because it seems to me Verigy would wanna make a deal. Why aren't we getting more of a vig on this? Because they're standing to lose $1 million if they don't get this on the boards. I mean, if I was negotiating this, I would be like, man, you need me pretty bad. I gotta tell you, because if we don't sign up before January, you aren't putting solar on our roofs.
Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Verigy in terms of, you know, what, you know, their perception of this deal. I mean, I know that, you know, when we put the RFP out and, you know, we get vendors that come in, I mean, the idea is, you know, running a transparent process that, you know, is following discrete steps.
I deal with governments every day. I deal with them, I know, but I bid New York City and I bid $1,500 for a wheel. I sell train wheels. Even in a low bid, they're gonna come back and say, prove your cost, show me what you're making, and I'm only gonna give you $14.25 per wheel. So I understand government bids.
Yeah, but in this case, these incentives are going away. Every organization that's trying to get solar in
Correct.
is ramping up as quickly as they can, right? Each of these
Well,
companies
and I
have
think
limited
they offer
capacity,
a little bit of perspective
right?
too,
We've gone out to
that
bid,
might
these are the bids that we've got.
Inform a little bit, because I think, you know, part of the reason that I think it's really important to offer, you know, outright purchase option, right? So Town of Brookfield Board of Ed, if, you know, it was in a position where it, you know, had the desire to own these projects, that, you know, you get the front row seat to the financial model behind them, and you know, the returns. The way I characterize utility style project returns is, you know, you can. There are certain investments out there where you could double your money, triple your money, etc. You know, you take risk, more upside, but you know, obviously, you know, the risk of loss, right? It's just like any other investing style. Utility investments operate a little bit more kind of like bonds. You know, they're not. There's really, you know, no, you know, multiple, you know, appreciation on the projects over time, like, you know, 20, 30, 50+% returns. But what you get is a very consistent project with, you know, still a good rate of return, but one that's, you know, kind of in line with the risks that you're taking. In this case, you have a piece of equipment, sits there. If it's constructed well and maintained well, you're going to sell power to the utility at a fixed price, guaranteed fixed price for 20 years. And then, you know, at the end of the 20 years, after the incentive program is exhausted, could be some avenues for, you know, continued operation, etc. But otherwise, you treat this like a 20-year project. That's not, super sexy or fancy, but it produces value. And so you can see, the returns on the projects in the town-owned situation, what those are, and you can see what the revenues are and what the O&M costs and insurance, decommissioning, etc. Just so, there's maybe to help sort of dispel the idea that there's, significantly greater amount of savings to be had out there. And it's certainly not on me to tell the town, to ask for more or not ask for more. That's entirely up to you guys and your purchasing policies and how you want to do it. I can't guarantee what Verigy's response would be for that, but suppose you reserve that right.
So let me make just a couple things, maybe it'll move us forward a little bit.
Fire away.
My understanding from listening to the Board of Selectmen meeting is that we're on a fairly tight timeline to get a decision made, because if we don't either get contracts in place or start the timeline to actually start build, then that credit is lost.
The incentives go
And
away.
on a $1 million on $3 million investment, or it's a $5 million if you threw all three schools in, 30% of that, this dog don't hunt unless you get that investment credit. So if that credit goes away, there's no opportunity here. So given that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think at this point, looking at multiple bids is kind of interesting but irrelevant, because if you don't go Verigy, you don't have a project. So it's coming to us at this point with it's either Verigy or nothing. We have no say in whether one of these was better. One of them might have been better, I have opinions on that, but it doesn't matter because you can't go back.
If one of them is better?
You can't, there's no time. It brought it to us to the point where if we liked one better, too late, it's Verigy or walk.
Yeah.
Look, that's how I hear it. If
And
I'm wrong,
also,
tell me.
yeah, I agree with you. And then we're also taking a lot more market risk if you go behind the meter, right? They're not.
It doesn't matter. You can have that, it doesn't matter, because we have no possibility to make that decision anyway. The decision before us right now is Verigy or nothing. So you can argue the other ones are bad anyway. You can have, that's a intellectual discussion because it doesn't matter in this meeting. Am I wrong?
But why not have that discussion?
Because it doesn't matter. We can spend, if you guys want to spend 5 hours having that discussion, call me when you're done, because the answer doesn't matter.
No, I think we need to, can I just jump in?
Please, maybe I'm wrong.
I think what's not an option is to purchase the panels.
Absolutely not.
Because if you do all three schools, it's $5 million. That money's gotta be approved, it's gotta go through a town meeting, a referendum, and that you don't have time for.
Okay.
So the option for the town to purchase and own the panels is not viable, given the credit going away in a very short period. You could still lease and do front of meter, back of meter on all four options.
There's time to do those.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But the option for the town to own and purchase and own is out. It's not realistic.
Okay.
Okay, more questions? Go ahead.
I think we can maybe keep going. The point I'll make, just so people, can you go back a page, just so the fact that we lost that option, if you look at the bottom line there, the total savings of 1.5 million, right?
Yeah.
That's over 20 years. So if you just net present value that back to the present at 4%, that's, call it $1 million. Okay, so the decision, if we do this today, and everything works as all the assumptions say, that's $1 million benefit to the town in today's dollars,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If the decision had been brought in and it got done to have the town purchase it, the value would have been $1.3 million. More risk, etc. Right? Same thing, NPV back at 4%. So the difference between Verigy doing it is $1 million. If we did ourselves, 1.3. Different risk profile. So my view was doing it ourselves. In hindsight, we can't do it anyway. But even if we could, that
But even if
for
we
that
could.
incremental 300,000, wouldn't have been worth it.
And the lease usually assumes that the vendor will maintain any issues that happen with the panels during that 20-year
Well,
period. so-
Verigy manages the entire
But we
thing for
pay for
us.
that even if we.
We're not going up there changing the controllers. If
But
panels
if-
go out,
If we bought them, would we then have to pay to have them come out?
Yes,
or-
We would have to hire
that's included in my
someone.
1.3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did it, that your model was very nice on that, so,
Yeah.
I followed it, I rebuilt it, it worked out just fine, so, that's what the 1.3 comes from. And it includes insurance, it includes,
Maintenance.
end of lease,
Yeah.
tear down, whatever you wanna call it, so it was actually, it's a good model. So, the first time I saw this, like, are we did we miss an opportunity by not doing it ourselves? I don't think we did. So, I can show everybody offline if you want, or separately, the numbers to show you that, but I don't think that was a lost opportunity.
I agree with you. And there's a lot more risk owning it and building it yourself. There just is.
Right. So then I guess my last question is, I'm gonna use the bid results that you were on, Glenn. And I got, maybe we don't trust that, say, I'll use Davis Hill as an example, that Davis Hill's system size was accurate, but if there was a pick and choose, you could pick Verigy for the front of meter for the high school and Davis Hill for Candlewood and Wisconsin, and that would be a better deal by whatever, you know? by
But they're
certain
they're
amount.
not front of meter, they're not apples to apples.
Well, yeah, and the
They're not
other thing
because
too is, you know, with Davis Hill, or just using Davis Hill as an example, you know, if they were to adjust their system size to be more in line with what's realistic for that site, they would lose about, 20 to 30% of their production capacity, in which case their PPA rate would have to go up. So
So I get, the point is that the numbers that we were shown, we shouldn't trust them for anything other than Verigy. Right, these aren't really worth looking at.
no, well, I felt that the Green Skies designs and numbers were sound. I didn't have any issue. It was Davis Hill and that Smart Groups that, and again, I see this kind of stuff all the time. It's, you try to get as aggressive as you can on paper, and once the electrical engineer, third-party electrical engineer gets involved, who's responsible for actually stamping the drawings, and they assess the property, and they come back and, necessary setbacks, from roof edge and rooftop equipment and stuff, the system size comes down, the vendor says, oh, hey, we just lost 20% of our production capacity, we're gonna have to adjust our PPA. So I like to try to help my clients get in front of that, instead of being led down a path, especially when there really is not a lot of time here. I mean, I don't like operating under circumstances where time is limited. It's
Okay.
whether I'm on this side of the table or that side of the table. I don't love it either.
So then, you open doors, and I'm sort of get lost on your door openings, I gotta be honest with you. So on system size on the high school, Davis Hill's 750, but Verigy's 898. So you're saying Davis Hill inflates it on one, but yet they're under Verigy on the other.
You're talking roofs and parking lots.
But it's mathematics, it's basic, how are they estimating, how
Well,
are
I mean,
they doing
They
this?
were within range. I mean, the designing a carport and designing on a roof are two really different things, because there's so much equipment on those roofs that you have to account for and have adequate spacing so people can get up there and service them. I mean, when I see vendors that are, 30%, 40%, 50% larger than the smallest system size, I mean, that, naturally my antenna goes up, but then when we run it through our modeling, and we have to flag all of these areas that just can't be built. I mean, this is where, it gets into a little bit of a challenge for us to try to make these presentations to different boards as streamlined and tailored to the audience as possible without becoming, 40 or 50 page document.
So then when you run it through your model, go to Candlewood Elementary School, what is the number you come up with as a realistic number running it through your model? What is your number? Because Verigy has 475.
500 kW or less for Candlewood can fit on that roof.
And then what was yours for Brookfield High School?
For Brookfield High School, we had up to a megawatt, so 1,000.
And the solar dollars kilowatt, how reliable are these numbers? Because they're all their own numbers, right?
Yeah, so these are all taken directly from the utility bills, the most recent utility bills that reflect the most current addressable rate that you're paying at each location now.
No, the solar, they're different for every bidder, you know.
Oh, you're talking about the Eversource? I think you were talking
Yeah,
about
no, not the
Eversource.
Eversource, the solar. The solar kilowatt per hour.
Yeah, well, those are taken from the proposals that were.
Yeah, how reliable are those numbers? Because everything that we're seeing, the savings are based on those numbers.
Well, that's their proposed price they'd sell us, because we're back a meter.
Oh, that is their price.
That's what their
That
price to
is-
us would be. They put the
Okay.
stuff on the roof, we
And
buy
this is
from them
20
at
years. This is
20 years, everything lasts 20 years,
that. Yeah, I don't know
so.
if there's an increase over 20 years.
If I can jump in,
Yeah, but also just, I think what's note for the front of the meter, the way that set of incentives is structured under the NRES program, the incentive program, and the way that the deal is structured, the credit value is consistent for a 20-year period. So anything related back to your unique cost of power per these locations is irrelevant for the economics or the savings associated with this deal.
Yeah, basically you can take front of the meter to the bank. It's a fixed number.
It's 0.0375, right? And,
Yeah, so those slides, I don't know if you want to jump to those
yeah,
slides
I
now.
think there's a few more important points to make. I think if we let Adam go through, there's a few more things that need to be, I think, talked about tonight. Go ahead, Adam.
Sure. So these three slides here show system layout and then the 20-year look for the front of the meter utility bill credit structure and how that works. Table here, pretty simple. You get years 1 through 20. Your solar production per year. Again, we mentioned this before. You lose about 0.5% production output each year, so that's why that number drops. The utility bill credit value is fixed for the 20 years. So the savings annually is just a function of the kilowatt hour production multiplied by the bill credit.
So this is the senior parking lot. The clearance is 14 feet. We talked, for all three locations, we talked to the fire marshal, who also talked to the fire chiefs, and I talked to the building official. So let me just mention for this, and I also park and rec, because they have to plow. So it's a 14-foot minimum clearance, and under all those panels is it LED lighting fully lit under the parking lot?
So on this, I talked to Rudy Marconi. They have this exact same system in their student parking lot at their high school. They've had no problems with it. They have not had, you can see on it where the little green dots are, that's where the stanchions would be.
That's the
They're
next
at the
slide.
corner of parking lots. He is not aware of any accidents that occurred there. Occasionally you do get snow that drips off, right? The snow sits on a solar power panel, melts and comes down. You handle that, they handle it with salt and plowing. It has not increased their plowing substantially going around the stanchions. It's not a huge, we're not using huge plows in the parking lot. So his opinion was that it worked really, really well, and they anticipated some of the same questions we had. Hey, are kids gonna hit these stanchions? Are they reliable? Are they gonna drip and create ice dams and things like that? He said they haven't run into any problems, and I showed him what we were planning to do, and he said it's very similar to what we have. And it's 14-foot clearance, so all of our trucks can get under it, right? I don't think we'd run into a lot of problems. It's a learning curve, you know, there are gonna be stanchions there, like in any parking lot that has bulbs, right?
What about school buses?
I'm sorry?
What about the school buses?
School buses, they can fit in there.
Oh,
If our fire trucks can fit there,
oh, fine.
our fire trucks can fit there, all of them.
I'm not saying the fire trucks, all of them go under there. We asked the fire marshal and the fire chiefs, can they still service the schools, and would they accept this design as shown? And the fire marshal had no problem. On this location, the building official had no problem, and he said both fire chiefs had no problem.
But the buses for the sporting events always park like in these back parking spaces.
So maybe they have to park in the front.
There's not a lot of space. it's,
That-
just something to
Remember,
consider.
this is a 14-foot clearance,
Yeah,
so in any corner, they can go underneath the solar panel.
yeah, it's just if you.
They're raised, they're supported from the middle of the parking spots.
Right, there's going to be some given that we have to give in.
Well, we are in front of the Board of Ed next week, so
So ask them that question, we'll confirm that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that needs to be considered.
those green dots are where the 2-foot square support steel goes up to support the panels. You can see those green dots on that screen.
Okay, we can go on to the next slide.
I guess you can go back to this, Glenn's on a point that you want to talk about for a minute, you know, on a different point. So if you look at Brookfield year one, we'll just use the numbers up there, right? So if we produce 1.14, whatever, the total credit that we will get will be about $280,000, of which we'll keep 37,000 and Verigy gets the, whatever the rest is, 230, or I can't do that, 270, 260. Which I'm not debating, right, but that's how it works, right? There's a total credit of 280 and our piece that we get is 37.
Right, but they're also fixed, Verigy's got a fixed rate with over 20 years with Eversource.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
Of
That's the way
point
it's
two, what did you just say?
So they're fixed for the 20 years, and the only thing they're losing on is the 0.5% of efficiency. That's why their numbers go down a year. So they're gonna bring in over 4 million, of which we're gonna get back 2 million. Correct?
No.
I think
1.4.
1.5.
Where's the cash balance of 2 million? That's,
We're gonna get 1.5.
1.5,
so-
1 million at NPV.
so yeah, so they're making,
Yeah, no, I got there,
yeah, yeah.
I got there.
What is their IRR?
Well, their IRR, they have to pay the same maintenance and insurance costs as us, and they probably don't, would be 5%. Now, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, right? But if you can get a low interest loan, then their ROE will be very nice, right? But it's not crazy.
But their IRR up here is 7.5, whose is that?
Where's that?
Right
That's
here.
our
That's
IRR.
IRR, yeah.
That's our, if we bought it ourselves, our IRR would be 7.5, which again, we can't do because we're out of time.
All right.
But it would have been 7.5. So theirs for the total project is above 5, and then their ROE would be dramatically more depending on how they debt fund. So, I don't think that it's, they're making good money, but they're not
So
they're
they're-
not killing us.
The total cost is 5 million.
5 million is the installation.
But they get
cost.
30% rebate.
Right.
Yeah, they get 1.5.
You get 1.6.
If we do this
back.
before January, they get a 30% rebate. We get nothing. We get our flat rate. They get a 30% rebate.
Right. They spend
So-
5 the first year to build it.
Then they
They get
get
$1.6 million back. So
Yes.
they're in the hole 3-4 to start.
3-4, yeah.
And they-
And then they make up by, this is their.
Then they
make up.
sell, to
They're-
2.24, and we get back 0.03.
Right, if their insurance and maintenance costs are the same as ours, just, you're looking for the number, right? Ours is 1.5, theirs is about 2.1. Net cash.
But we do benefit from the ITC. If they don't get the ITC, which is likely to go away,
The deal is now.
Nothing.
there's nothing in it for
Right,
them or
they,
us.
they're making 2.1, and we're making 1.6, so the total cash is about 4 million, of which 1.6 is the ITC. So if the ITC goes away, it goes from whatever 4 benefit to 2.4, and that's not gonna
That's
make
making
anybody
sense.
You know,
interested.
And the thing is, if a whole solar array bank goes bad, that's on them. They have to come replace it. Right?
Our risk is very low.
Our risk is very low.
We should get into that a little later, yeah, it's low, but there are some things that are not clear in in whatever this thing is, the contract.
What risks do we have, Steve?
I'm sorry.
What risks or costs do we have?
I don't see any here,
There's
except
gotta be extra plowing.
except a little extra plowing, maybe some salt if the snow melts off and then it drains, hits the ground, freezes. We have to add some more
If
salt.
snow is on the panels, can the panels still work?
No, but they
No, no.
melt fast.
They look at the average sunlight hours, right, including snow cover. I mean, if we had a winter that That one winter we had like 10 feet,
Yeah.
20 years ago, all right, it's gonna go down. If there's no snow that winter, it's gonna go up.
But do you clean it? Is there a cost of coming, or you
No.
just let it melt? It's
No, you
nature's
just let
way.
it melt. They're black, so they melt
I
pretty
have no
quickly.
idea, that's why I'm asking.
They're black, they
And
melt
they-
pretty quickly.
They're monitored, and so if the
Yeah.
production goes down, like when it's a sunny day out, and they see that over time, then they'll come out and clean it. So if there's like dust and
So
dirt residue.
they
on
would
it,
come out and clean
That's
it,
part
of
and we
it.
would not be
Yeah.
part,
Yeah.
okay, I
No,
We
just.
don't
all
do
right.
any, we don't do anything.
And then we have 78,000 in savings, that, for the cleaning, for the salt and everything that we are going to.
Yeah, that's a marginal cost, it's not a big lot. We're there already.
And there might
If
be,
we had to go back and salt again,
and there's
that's what
actually
we would
probably gonna
do.
be less plowing to do because you don't get snow under those
Right.
carts. Like,
They'll
you
go
see that
through
we
them
went to
pretty
Canada a
quickly.
couple years ago, and all of the museums and stuff had these carports with the solar panels, and with snow in the ground, there was like nothing under the,
Yeah.
almost nothing under the
didn't
panels. So
think
you
that
might
that is
actually
an
save some of
advantage
the
in a
plowing
way.
costs.
Yeah.
'cause
I've
you
got
don't have
ground
to-
mounted, that's exactly my experience.
Yeah. I had a question in the bill, the share agreement in section 3.6. It talks, the minimum electric demand, and it said that the buyer can utilize 110% of the estimated annual bill credits to be delivered. But what happens if we don't have, if we happen to have a sunnier winter, and we actually produce more, will that value get adjusted so that if we could use more than was originally estimated? Do they have a process to kind of reevaluate that? I mean,
I haven't
whether
can
it's
answer that,
changing
but I
a lot.
think whatever's produced is we get our rate. If it's above what he's estimating, we would get that as, Marcia, can you ask him? He's not
There's
gonna
no
be able
cap
to.
on what you can get. I think what
Okay.
they just want to make sure that you can, that you can utilize these credits. Like, we're not sending them to an account that can't absorb them. I mean, and that's all. Your EverSource bills for the high school and all these projects are so large. Like, your balances are far greater
Okay.
than
Okay,
the amount of credits.
I'd like to see that, and I
wanna
don't
see
know
the
how it
comparison
works, but
too,
as an
yeah.
example, right, we were continuing on, right, for Brookfield High School, we said that the total credit in the first year was $280,000, right? Our electric bill in Brookfield High School is nowhere near $280,000. So if we did this,
Yeah, so the way
if we
that
did
this
just
is
high
set
school,
up-
we would not have enough capacity to pay for the credit.
Yeah, so the way that this gets set up is directly with EverSource. When we apply into the NRES program, we designate a share right off the bat, and that's internally accounted for with them and their billing systems.
Well, what can we apply the credit against? Is it only against these three schools, or can it be against
Whole
other town
bill.
buildings or town meters?
Well, theoretically, you could put these credits anywhere. We just assume that they would go to the locations in which the arrays are installed.
Well,
Is
like I
that
just told you-
theoretically or fact?
No, you can. I would just
Okay.
I just
we
think,
put these proposals together under the assumption that the credits would go to the
building.
with that assumption, I don't think Brookfield High School has enough usage to use the credits, and the town gets screwed. So I don't think that's a good assumption, so you gotta go look
No,
at
the
that.
credits are ours,
No, the
regardless.
credits are not ours.
Yeah, if
We
it's-
only get $37,000 in Brookfield of a $280,000 credit. EverSource is gonna say you have $280,000 worth of credits for the year. We have to apply that against our electrical usage. If we don't have enough electrical usage, we don't get to use the credit, even though Verigy still gets the,
You have zero issue with these meters utilizing the credits that are structured this way. We've checked the EverSource NRES program rules, reviewed your utility data, the consumption data. There's no issue, and we've done this, for the last 3 years under the NRES program.
I'd like to see that, because again, my quick math said that in aggregate, we should be okay, but if you did it school by school, you could have a problem.
But we're only getting 37,000 in
No,
credit.
we're not, we're getting $280,000.
No, you're not.
No, it's only 37.
That's where that number messed me up. You're not getting 280.
Yeah, no, correct, so explain it, because I think that we're getting a $280,000 credit, of which we keep 37, and Verigy gets the delta.
No.
No,
So how do they get
Just the way-
paid?
We're getting 3.25 cents.
The way this works is that when we apply into the NRES program, we designate of that, using the high school example, of that 26 cents, right?
Yep.
What goes with it? So that's set up from the get-go. Eversource pays Verigy their share. They distribute your share as utility bill credits on the designated account.
So why does it matter that we have to have 110% of capacity?
I think just so as long as we're not like running afoul of Eversource's rules and how we can assign credits to, each meter. Like they won't allow us to assign. Let's say you had a meter that showed, $20,000 a year or something like that. I mean, and that we were trying to assign $37,000 worth of credits to it. They wouldn't let that happen.
See, and listen to this, I understand the benefits, and I understand Eileen sees the benefits too, but I gotta tell you, these numbers, I'm a numbers guy. Not one number you said has made sense to me tonight. I am so lost in your numbers, so lost in what's been presented, so lost in like who's getting what, what's getting who. All I know is, I get we're gonna make some money on this, but as numbers, I am blown away. I can't follow not one of your numbers.
What's
I
our
can't
Brookfield
follow.
High School, what's our Brookfield High School cost of electricity? Does anybody
Total
have that
school is
number?
what?
We're paying about
Let's just do all
10
three
cents a
schools.
kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
We each pay 13.34 for supply, is my last number I had from, I don't know what it was.
I mean, I think we're lost in numbers aren't making sense, but the bottom line is those are your savings. And we have a timeline, and Steve has a timeline of do we accept? We don't. Steve's going to want to make a decision. Does he accept the $1.4 million of numbers that I can't make sense of? I mean, I could tell you now, it's weather related too, so none of these numbers are solid. The 3 point,
It's average,
yes, the 0375.
average year.
Right, I mean, it's an 0375 number that's straight up, but we don't know if we're gonna get so many kilowatts one year, and you're right, I get
Yeah,
over
but
time,
the
I get it.
fluctuation year to year is not gonna be huge, but throughout the year, you'll see the highs and lows.
For me, and I know it's your decision, I don't like making decisions, I'm a freaking decision making that has an impact of this.
Yeah, well,
This is bad business to make decisions.
I
like
understand your concern, because there's a lot of things here, a lot of moving parts here.
Right,
So, we'll go back, rerun the numbers, talk to Adam, and try to get it in a more understandable format. Does that make sense? Because I think a lot of people would be confused by this, the way this is going. Okay? We're not gonna make a decision just because we have to get a credit. We're gonna make a decision because it's the right thing to do. Now, Titan has been probably the preeminent consultant on these in the state of Connecticut. CCM hired them, I think, 8 or 9 years ago, and then renewed their contract because of the good experience.
so
municipalities
CCM
had
pays
using
them, there's no big in any of this.
No, CCM does not pay them, they don't pay CCM. CCM really went out on behalf of all the towns in Connecticut and said, hey, we need a consultant to help our towns
Right,
do solar projects.
so who pays Titan?
Verigy.
Verigy pays it.
Yep, so whoever's selected from the RFP process is responsible for project management fees that Titan would collect, which are paid in milestones. The first of which is only triggered when we've secured incentives for the project. So we're still a good, few steps away from that, and this has been an ongoing effort for over a year.
So you get paid based on milestones, not kilowatt or anything, you're a milestone guy.
Well, the project management fee is related to the size of the project, so it's a percentage of the project's value itself. Again, it's depending on whichever vendor is selected from the process, whether it's Verigy, Green Skies, Davis Hill. I think if anything, the way we're paid might even encourage us to recommend a vendor with the bigger projects, which we're not doing. We're trying to get you the project that's the right size for the site, it's buildable and realistic. Because if this isn't successful, we're not successful. And then there's obviously our reputation, which hinges on the success that we have with these projects. So, something that we obviously take very seriously. Very important.
We need to talk about the other two locations when you guys are ready.
It's the same thing.
There's
There's no reason.
there's other issues.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
think
yeah, we got to talk about
Go
risk in
ahead,
here.
go ahead.
for clarification too, because I think it's important, having the understanding of how this works, right? I mean, I try to, with these charts, try to boil it down to its essence, really, right? Which is the system's going to get built and then produce power. And sure, I mean, you could have a sunnier year or a cloudier year. We use 25 years of weather data to try to model out what the future's going to look like. But give or take a few percent every year, I think the production from these systems is, it's reliable, it's time tested. And Verigy's business model is predicated on making kilowatt hours. So they're highly motivated to make sure that these numbers are hit, for themselves. They don't want to build a project for those numbers. Then in terms of what the town and the Board of Ed, whether it goes to the meter, Candlewood, for instance, or somewhere else, every kilowatt hour that gets created has a fixed, knowable credit associated with it, credit value. And then it just becomes a simple math problem of your production times credit value. And that's what you get. The more complex way to look at the project is, presented in those Excel sheets under a town owed scenario where you could see, kind of in black and white, what the value of that credit is and what you have to pay and risks you have to take in order to get it and what the corresponding returns are. So it's, I want to make sure everybody, being that this is a Board of Finance meeting, really understands these dollars and has both, the front of the meter credit bill arrangement, very clearly spelled out and, by the time that we draft here, explained and understood by everybody. And then the more complex version too, which, although I think is kind of out of balance for time, is important for everybody to see.
Okay. I just want to add for this location, when we presented these three scenarios to the building department, the one comment he did make was that he probably would not approve the building permit for these panels as long as that school is under a temporary CO. So I don't know what issues are there, but I just want to mention
Yeah.
that that's a comment that was made.
So I had a conversation with Paul Checo, head of the NBC, yesterday on this very subject, and he believes that the sprinklers will be in and the walkway that needs to be fixed, there's something wrong with the height of the walkway, before school starts, and therefore we would be able to get the CO.
I thought the sprinklers were fixed. The last Board of Ed meeting, they said the sprinklers were fixed and the doors can open.
What I heard is they've hired a contractor, but it's not been completed yet, but will be before school starts. They have to take out part of the ceiling.
And down at the Board of Ed meeting, they said that the sprinklers were now fixed, the garage doors open and everything works.
I'll check, that's not what I was told. I'll double check it.
Okay. I must be watching a different show.
This could be a timing issue kind of thing.
They said it was fixed. Hooray, they did a hooray around the table. It's fixed. So I'm at a real loss there too. Okay. All right, so go ahead. So now we're on the Wisconsin. They have a problem too with their roof.
Yeah, so that's right. You want to hear from Adam, or you just want to get to the bottom line?
No, it's
Show
all
us
the-
where.
It's all the middle.
See all the panels?
Yeah, but where's the roof problem? It needs a new roof in general, right?
Well, in the capital plan, there are 5 or 6 years of replacing
Well,
roofs.
which roofs need to be replaced? All of them need to be
It's the
replaced
one-
here?
Pretty much all of them. The
Except the gym.
top right-hand corner is good. And the gym, I think, has recently been done.
The bottom line is here, unless you re-roof that school's roof now, I don't even think the Board of Ed, the subcommittee said last night that this location's off the table.
So there is in the capital plan, the next 5 or 6 years, to do sections of these roofs. The question then becomes, does the Board of Finance want to move that forward? And if you wanted to move it forward, could we do it in time to get the incentives, or do we just leave it as is? I think it's going to be really hard.
We don't get any incentives. We're talking incentives. We get no incentives.
No. But if Titan doesn't, if Verigy doesn't get the incentive, it's off the table. can we get this roof in a condition that they could put the solar on there in time for them to get the incentives? When I say we, I mean the project.
What is the date the roofs would need to be replaced?
You have,
Construction must start by July
July,
15th.
yeah.
they vary on the cap, you look at the capital.
No, when
next
is,
summer.
for this project to go forward, when do the roofs need to be replaced?
Construction on the project would have to begin, I think I'm right in saying, Adam, July 4th?
Yeah, July 5th, 2026, the buildings were.
Yeah.
Well, but my understanding from, again, my minimum understanding, listening to the board of selectmen, was that construction started means like 5% done. You could do a lot more at the high school, so the aggregate of the project was 5%.
That's up for grabs at the moment.
Yeah,
We
that
don't know.
we
We're
don't
waiting.
know. The federal
We don't know,
government,
so we don't know. So
the federal government has indicated the new target will be, you have to have 5% completed. What they're trying to do is carve projects out,
Here's the
so
point,
they're
if
setting new
we need to
rules. We
pull the
don't know
roof
what
in,
they
but we
are.
don't need to know when we need to pull the roof in, we can't evaluate how would we get that done, because we don't know what we're going after.
No, I disagree.
Okay?
The capital plan shows when these roofs should be
No,
replaced
no, I
over
got
the
that,
next
but
5-6
if you
years.
want to do this project, we can't do it at that schedule.
No,
What
no.
schedule do we need to do it at? I don't know. I can't do anything with I don't know.
I just said, if we want to do it on Wisconsin, we'd have to have those roofs done.
When?
By July 5th.
I don't think we can do that.
That doesn't sound to me like
Even
that's
if
the
we,
case.
even if we decided to allocate the 3 million, I think it is about, for these roofs, I don't think we could get it done in time. Now, if the rule is the project has to be started and you have to spend 5%, is it aggregate? If we start the high school
It's
and we
not
start the
aggregate,
parking
no,
lot,
so-
how much
Oh,
time?
Oh,
do I-
Adam says it's not
There's
aggregate.
3 separate projects this
It's
is?
3 separate.
Okay, so then that sets it out.
This isn't getting done in
Yeah.
a year if it's separate projects. Okay.
So does that, if we take out Wisconsin, would that change the project and the conditions of it?
This is what we found out.
So,
Sounds.
no, I mean, when we included this in the RFP, we made vendors aware that there's a strong possibility that this would not be possible based on the timing of the re-roof, and that each offer should not be subject to approving all 3. So you could do 2. The Candlewood and the high school need this project out without affecting the
Yeah.
economics of the other 2.
Thank you.
So these are standalone projects and standalone offers by Verigy.
Correct.
Okay.
And standalone agreements, there'll be 2, if you do
Yeah.
the other 2 schools, there'll be 2 agreements.
So then the high school is different. So really, the only one that is clear cut is the high school right now, that has all green lights that you can do.
Well, we're close to the
No,
end.
CLES is.
CLS is good. I think.
Well, we don't have a CO, so we don't know
Yeah,
if
but
we can, so, I'm talking, right now, hurdles, you guarantee us that this can work. Give me a guarantee, what buildings can work? 100% guarantee right now.
Well, I mean, if you foresee getting, I'm in
Not foresee is not an answer. Guarantee me, if we don't have a CO, can we put it on the CLES school?
We will have the CO.
We haven't had the CO in 3 years, 4 years it's been
There are
open.
2 things that need to be done, right?
Yeah.
You heard from the Board of Ed, one of them's already been done.
Well, I'm
And
not
the other
sure
is
now.
setting some steps. These are things that can be done literally in 2 days if you get the contractor out there.
How long has the school been
Do
open?
you think I'm gonna let a project like this, if we decide to move forward, sit because of 2 small things at CLES? We will move heaven and earth to get the CO.
So why don't we have it next week? I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying, on a risk point
I
of
will go
view,
back to the
if someone
NBC.
gives me a maybe, and I'm looking at a major construction or major thing, maybes don't do for me as a person. It has to be, we're gonna get it. Now, the school's been open, when did the school open?
End of August, right?
What year?
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant when does it open
When
this
did the
year?
school open?
23.
Yeah.
But
We
you
don't
would
have a
never-
CO yet.
You would never sign this until you had a CO on the school, right? So you're not gonna.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're looking at is one project is available to go ahead as of today.
And maybe another one.
As
in
of
2 weeks.
today.
As of today. And I was told yesterday, these will be fixed before school starts. So
September
I will go
2nd.
back and ask.
I can ask tomorrow, I have a finance committee.
It comes down to, all of this it just comes down to you willing to accept the savings. That's what this whole thing boils down to. I mean, and are the savings real?
Something to consider too, though, is that Candle Lake Elementary was built with the expectation that it would have solar, right?
Absolutely. The conduit's already there to bring the lines down into the building.
And so that had been the vision of that school, for that school.
Agreed.
So I think that
Built
is
that way.
remembered.
I mean,
I've got a few other like contractually kind of things as well. I don't know if we want to do that all together. If I
fire it away now and then we'll move on.
Well, the contractual things, that's the purview of the first selectman in the town. You've got questions,
Okay,
concerns,
Well, no,
just
these
shoot
are
them
the
to me.
financial
I don't-
implications of the contractual things.
Yeah, just
So
send me
as an
your,
example, what happens at the end of the 20 years? Does Verity
They
remove the
dismantle.
stuff? Okay, what
They're-
section of the contract is that in? Because the section 5.1, construction, maintenance, monitoring, and removal of SEF says absolutely zero about removal.
those are the sorts of things, if we sign the contract, we'll look at it and review it. I want your input on that. I don't know if we have to go through everything contractual
I don't have 50.
here tonight.
I have
I'm
like-
more
I
than
have
want to
like-
hear.
I have like 3, and that was one. So I don't have to talk about that anymore. Just
Yeah.
if it's gonna be removed, you might want to have that in the contract. 'Cause
Oh,
I've
yeah,
been told
send me
3 times
whatever
to
you've
use
got. I'm just not sure that we want to go through it
Okay, I
tonight.
didn't know if you wanted me. Okay.
Mary, you have any questions?
No.
Eileen? Naheed? Brian, yours is tabled.
What's my new table?
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Yep.
Turn the AC back
Oh, yes, thank you. I just closed it. Thank you.
It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time.
An electric goes just without changing. And every time they say it's gonna get better, it isn't. But
I agree, but none of the
I'm not
rates.
saying don't do it, I'm just saying.
The bottom line is, someone's gonna make money on it, and we gotta decide, the
We can't
breadcrumbs,
put it
do we
on
want the
ourselves.
breadcrumbs?
I mean, I don't know.
By the way, we don't have, the Board of Finance, as you said, doesn't have
No.
a decision.
No, but
It's
we
not
want
involved
your
in the
input.
decision, so
We
we're
want
trying to
your
help
input.
provide guidance.
It's, do you accept the breadcrumbs? Because that's what you're gonna get. Verigy's gonna make money, big money. Verigy's gonna get
They're
the
gonna make
credit.
money, and they're
you're-
taking all the risk.
But you're getting the breadcrumbs. You're getting
I
what
wouldn't-
falls off the table.
I wouldn't put it that way. They're taking all the risk, right?
Agreed.
This
The
stuff
risk
gets
and
ripped
rewards
off a
go together,
roof
right? So-
by wind. It's on them.
If it goes
Yeah, but
well,
that's on their insurance.
Yeah, but they
I
gotta
mean,
pay
that's
the
not on
insurance.
them. I mean, they're not taking that liability on. They got insurance. That's built into their model, right? 14,000 or whatever. in their
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah.
So, all right, move on. Steve, your job. Report of the first selectman.
Did we do communication?
Yeah, we did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend a lot of time. The capital committee ordinance was passed at the Board of Selectmen meeting, so that's good, that's great.
when will the new one be put in place after the election? When will the formal board, it has to go to vote now, but when will the?
Well, we appointed you guys through
Right.
December, I
So-
believe it
okay,
was.
so it'll be
Right, so then we will
December.
reappoint you, if we're here, you will be reappointed, well, somebody will be reappointed in December.
Right, so
Right,
there'll
regardless
be
of
2
who's-
members of the Board of Finance on that, so
Yep.
whoever's still around, please volunteer.
Right. And that's why we did it in December, so that we'll know who it is, right? Who's gonna be there. Iroquois, DEP has issued a permit to Iroquois for their gas compressor. We do have the right to, as a town, to request a hearing. There are 2 types of hearing. We're gonna ask for an adjudicatory hearing, where we would go in and ask them specifically to make an adjudication. The big things that the town has asked for, and they just did not do, was one, best available control technology, which is electric compressors versus using natural gas. If they use electric compressors, there'd be no more pollution, no additional pollution from that facility. The thinking and the logic that they use to determine what comes out of the stacks is, to me, absurd. They can issue right now up to 24.9 tons of pollutants a year. They test like once or twice a year. They test with their compressors going at the peak efficiency, which is full speed, which per pound, per whatever you want to go, means the lowest emissions. So the way they test is as if I got in my car, right, and said, I get 50 miles to the gallon. You say, prove it. I said, okay, give me a 4-mile road that goes downhill, that's straight as a string, and I'm gonna drive 35 miles an hour. And you know what, I'll hit 50 miles an hour. But the minute I start to go up the hill, it goes down. They're testing, so we've asked for testing both before, during, and after to see what's actually coming out of here. What the DEP, when I met them, said, they are now issuing less than half of the 29.4 tons they're allowed to emit right now, based on their testing. That makes it a minor project. And they're adding 2 more compressors. That's also a minor project. Now that's 49.8. Therefore, additional testing is not necessary. The logic just blows my mind. We've asked for additional security. We've asked for online staff there. Given the things that have been going on, the CDC got shot up last week, 180 different bullets in the building. I don't think they have the security that they need. And we've asked them to put additional security in there. Or we asked for 4 things, and they didn't even mention any of them. So we'll ask them for an adjudicatory hearing. They will probably grant that to us, along with other groups who are asking for the same thing. My net here is, I don't think they're gonna do a thing. That's my guess. But we're gonna try. On the cell tower, we got notice that Homeland Tower has bought an easement at 42A Hidden Brook Road for a cell tower. They sent us notification as they're required to by law. By law, we can ask them to have an information meeting for our residents. Since it's within a mile of Bridgewater, Bridgewater is also included in that. Bridgewater and Brookfield have agreed together, and we asked for that meeting, public information meeting, which will be held August 21st at 7 p.m. at the Brookfield High School. That is for them to make a presentation telling us what they're going to be doing. Right now it's a 175-foot monopole with, I believe it's AT&T on it at 42A Hidden Brook. It is within, I don't know, you can go measure it, 100 feet of 5 or 6 residences, and within 200 feet there's probably 30 residences, and within 500 feet there's probably 50 or 60 because it goes into Lake Leelanau shores. They are required to simply notify abutters, the 6 or 7 houses. We have notified everyone within 1,000 feet. We have sent a letter to, a postcard, bright yellow, notice of public information hearing. That will be for Homeland and their attorney Robinson and Cole to make a presentation to the town. They've done this before. Then they have to go before the siting council. We may have some room with the siting council, but I doubt it. 600 applications, 590 approved, 10 of them approved after some modifications, mostly where they were in historic districts, where there were 2 options and they said, no, go with this option even if it's a little more expensive. We had, the Board of Selectmen voted to hire a judge to adjudicate the Board of Ethics issues that were sent up to the Board of Selectmen that we cannot act upon. We are hiring that judge. That judge is going to take over and act as the town's Board of Selectmen on these ethics. And that person will have the full power to drop a case, have a hearing, make a decision, and make a determination, send it to the Board of Selectmen. Here's what we think you should do. Admonish the person, whatever.
It's my understanding, if you said this, I'm sorry, that you think that can be contained in the legal budget, you're not asking Board of Finance for any additional...
Right now, yes. That might change. We have a couple issues over at Center School. The cupola is leaking badly and is falling down. The gutters are so full that water is just pouring over the building and then seeping into the building. I've authorized them to clean the gutters and repair them to make them usable and to enclose the cupola so it doesn't leak. It's going to be $1,500, $1,800 to do both of those things. Right now we can keep it within our maintenance budget, just making you aware. At the end of the year we may come to you and say, hey, there are going to be a couple other areas where Center School is leaking on the roof. We probably, depending on the cost, want to repair those. We don't want this building, it's not in great shape now, but we don't want it to fall any further if we can spend a little bit of money and prevent some damage.
So,
Yeah,
do we have a timeline on making a decision on this?
what kind of decision?
We gotta keep it or not keep it, like a timeline, or is this 6 months, a year? Are we gonna be doing this now? If you got one leak in one area,
You're gonna get more.
we're gonna get more.
Yeah.
And what's leaking is ruining what's already ruined far further along. So at what point are we saying, hey, we're making a decision by January 1, decision will be made because we're not gonna bleed this into next year's budget, we're not gonna do anything, we're gonna make a
to do
decision.
what?
Well,
Tear it down, rebuild it, scrap it,
The issue
Whatever.
there is, if you're looking at it from the street, the right half of the building was built in 1990. That's a steel construction, right? You can empty everything out inside of that and build from inside. Is that worth keeping? I don't know. We'd have to hire an architect to look at the building, just like we did with Huckleberry, to say, right now, we estimate the cost to get that building up and usable, as is, between $3 and $5 million. We have to put a whole new electrical in because that got burned out with the.
but that number just gets bigger by the day.
Yes, and I am not comfortable putting $3 to $5 million in a building that might be taken down.
But that's what I'm saying. Are we gonna set a decision time point for this? Because right now, again, what we just talked about, the school, we got a new school that doesn't have a CO that's been open for 3 years. We got an old school that's been vacant for 3 years, and yet we don't have a timeline in place to manage
But if you
that.
remember, when we moved to the new school, we had in our budget $50,000 to $60,000 to maintain Center School.
Correct, but that
Right.
was based on, we thought it would be a limited point for decision-making.
Yeah.
So either we're gonna
But we
make it.
knew it wasn't gonna be 2 years. We knew we weren't going out to referendum for a new community center or police station in 2 years. We knew that. We knew Center School was gonna be empty for a while. We knew that.
But how long are we, look, that's what I'm trying to say, is
That's why we need an overall plan. We got the police station, we got the community center, we have to look at both of those. I think, I
Let me
agree
ask you a
with you.
different way. So for the community center ad hoc committee, when are they planning on having a recommendation of what they want to do in general? Just,
They are holding off right now because the issue becomes, here's where we have so many moving parts.
Right.
We have to bring them together,
that's what I'm saying.
right?
That's
We do,
exactly what I'm saying.
Right? And the earliest, I think we've got, one, we all agreed that the police station should come first because we have some legal requirements there. The earliest we can go to referendum, their charge is to come back to us by next June on the police station. We
On
did
the
not
police
set a
station.
date for the.
So let me put this in terms I understand. My car's 20 years old,
Right.
and my tires are bad, and I gotta put $1,000 into tires.
Right.
And I say, all right, I do that. 3 months later, my brakes go bad, I gotta put 1,500 into it.
And
2 months later,
later-
my muffler goes bad, I gotta put another 2 grand into it.
Yep.
What point do we say, hold on, people, no more? This 1,500 is irrelevant.
Yeah, but
But
didn't we have-
1,500 is irrelevant. But what about
Yeah.
15,000, 20,000, 30,000? Because that's what you're gonna get into
Yeah,
at
no,
some
you-
point.
You can get into
we're
a
gonna
lot
be
more.
chasing.
You can get into a lot more
Right.
than that.
We're gonna be chasing that good money after bad money
Which
scenario.
we don't
But
want
we
to do.
also have to remember that, I mean, we had this discussion 3 years ago with somebody else, that the cost of demoing the building wasn't $50,000 either, right?
Agreed.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I get, it'd be good to have a timeline of when is the decision going to be made of what we do to that school, so we can project out. But I don't know that, you know, there have been other mindsets that demolishing it is cheaper than anything else, which I don't think is true.
I do.
But it would
I
be
mean,
nice to
but
have an
that's-
idea of
yeah.
when we're gonna have a decision about what's gonna happen.
Yeah, a lot of what's gonna drive that is our decision as to when we can fund, right? If we went to referendum next year for a police station, I'm gonna put a number out there, $20 million. Wilton just built one for $18 million. It will house 50 officers and 10 staff. We have 40 officers and about 2 staff. Right? No, 3. 2 records clerks and an assistant. So I think that's a reasonable target, right, to start to look at. I know a number of $35 million has been bandied about, but I don't believe that's real. If Wilton just
No, your
did
numbers are
one.
right. Newtown was 15, Wilton was
Yeah.
19.
I think we're
That-
right in
That
the ballpark.
number's a fair number.
You gotta remember, if we went to referendum, if they come back to us in June and say, this is what we think we wanna do, right?
Right, but that, I agree, but my thing is, at center school, at what point do we pull the plug and make that decision of, we gotta let go? I mean, and
I
I get
don't know.
it, but I hear what you're saying about part of school, but I've been told from people who, I've been in town a long time, the new building isn't as good as the old building. So there's a lot of people that believe that actually worked on center school, that said the new building wasn't built that well, the older building part is much better built, but yet we have all these conflicting things.
Right.
And the longer we hold on, and again, 1800's irrelevant, when we start
Right.
getting into, what are you gonna do for heat? You gotta put an oil tank in. It's never gonna be heated, so there's no heat in there, there's nothing,
Solar
there's no
panels.
electric in
We
there.
can do solar panels.
Right, but there's no electric in there, there's none of this, everything that we don't have in there leads to faster deterioration, correct or not
Exactly
correct?
right. You're exactly right. You know, we pulled the oil tank, we could have replaced it for about the same money as it cost to pull it. We made a decision as a town to let that building go cold. That means we had to drain the fire sprinkler system. That means we had to drain the water system. That means if we try to fire those up again, right? And people say, well, let's use the building now as it is. You can't do that because you're going from one use to another. And when you go from one use to another, you must bring the building up to code, to current code. Even if you're going from a school, which is the most stringent, to a community center, doesn't matter. You have to bring it up to code. I'm not comfortable spending $3 to $5 million on that building, but I think we should stop any major damage. If I can clean the gutters and keep water
Yeah,
from
clean the
getting
gut, that's
down the
irrelevant.
siding,
Yeah,
That
that's-
wasn't it.
right?
It's-
But there
it's-
comes a point, you're right, I just donated a car. It was getting to cost $1,000 every 3 months. I'm done here, right? I'm
See,
donating
We
it.
make that decision on a car, but yet we have a bigger piece of property that we're not making that decision on, that could cost
I
us
think we
more.
have, you're right, we have
I
to
think it's
have.
a complex decision, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's not as easy to just say demolish
Absolutely.
it or whatever.
They
right?
need, but complex decisions need to be made.
I
You
would-
you can't just keep pushing them down the table.
Agreed, but I guess it's.
And it's
it'll
3
take a
years
few-
now.
It'll take a few people, a lot of meetings.
We're gonna have to make a decision, you're right, and we need to start getting people together, because some people are really attached to center school, and they wanna keep that building. It's gonna be incredibly difficult to do that. But as you said, the old part was built in 37? That's built like a brick, you know what?
Yeah, my mother went to school. I know.
Right? But it was built in 37. So I think
Did you go yesterday?
All right.
we need to look at this.
All right, so, all right, what's next on your thing here, so?
Town clerk resigned. She's taking a job in another town. We wish her luck, she's done a great job here. It was an opportunity that she just could not turn down.
Was it effective?
She's going to Bloomfield,
When is it effective?
I'm sorry,
When is it effective?
August 30th.
Oh, I.
That affects our election process. I went to Tom Beecher and said, Tom, there are, interestingly enough, there are a couple different laws,
Sure.
and it's hard to parse them out, which is correct. So Tom spent an entire day going through that. His advice to the town, which we received today, was that the town clerk's resignation is effective Saturday the 30th. His interpretation of the law is that the town committees can choose a candidate. They do not have to have a caucus. You can't have a primary because you can't get it in the time. The town committee can choose a candidate for town clerk, but that candidate's name must be in by September 8th. End of day, 4 p.m. on September 8th, to be included on.
What town
the-
committee?
I'm sorry?
Who can choose it?
The town committees. Democratic town
The
committee can put
Democratic
somebody up.
caucus.
Somebody, if they got
candidate.
whatever number of signatures, could probably, minor parties they call it, they could, if somebody got enough signatures, they could get their name on the ballot too. But the last date to do that is September 8th. So that gives, the problem is that's Labor Day weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday's a holiday, Tuesday's the 3rd. They're gonna have to move pretty quickly. Now, I would assume that they're talking to people right now. That would be my guess. Not a perfect timing from our standpoint. And I talked about the cell tower, right?
Yep.
And the only thing I would like to do is have an executive session to discuss the Public Works union negotiations at the end of your meeting if you want.
I think we should do that before we do
Or-
the discussion,
The executive session before capital?
if it's possible, yeah,
Why? The capital has to do with that?
potentially.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question about.
I would prefer to go into executive session sooner rather than later, because some of the things I'm gonna tell you in executive session could affect how you look at your transfers and capital spending.
Well, we just want to make a motion on.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
So, I don't even know if this is really the best form, but the glass recycling bit, I feel like it came, there was something came up about it during the budget discussions, but I know when I went to put glass in there recently, it was very full, like you could almost.
It's been emptied.
Oh, it has been, okay.
It's getting used more and more, so our timing of when
Okay.
have the guys
Okay.
come. But if you see it full, call me, we'll get the
Okay,
guy to come.
Okay, I was thinking that there was something come up in the
We
budget
have,
about
we
getting
have,
it,
I
but
think
there was a vendor. wasn't-
HRRA told me we've already recycled 24 tons of glass since that was put in. And we will be putting in a recycling machine September 22nd for table scraps, for
Oh,
food
fun.
scraps. It will be app operated, so that not just any Willie can go in and dump stuff. It's a free app, you go on your phone, it'll open for you, you put your stuff in. We've arranged for HRRA to pick up the scraps right now, so no cost to the town. And I think it'll be popular. We're gonna put it right by the glass recycling, right? The more we can recycle, the better. I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. That's pretty much it for me.
Do we know how to turn this off?
I just texted John Lucas to see if he's watching so he can confirm when it goes off, but I.
No, I'm saying we know how to turn, you know how to turn it off, right? You did this once?
I don't know, she told me.
I was gonna say, we do you and then you could go. Do you need to be here for executive? If we're gonna go in, you can go home.
But she was gonna do the report of finance. You wanna do report of the finance, or?
I was gonna say, if we do report of finance, then she can go home and then we'll do it.
I'm gonna be here to then, don't
You
you?
sure?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, well then we'll.
Look for it, I'm not really bored.
All right. So then I'll make a motion to amend the agenda that we go into executive session to discuss the labor
Contractual.
contract, right?
Contract.
Labor contract, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so we'll enter into executive session, we'll
Can I
come
make
back
a
out
motion
and
to go to
resume
the
the
bathroom?
meeting.
Can we take 3 minutes?
Thank you.
From the bathroom?
Can you invite me in?
Yes,
Oh.
you wanna amend that to bring?
I'll amend that we invite Marcia Marion into the executive meeting. Do I have a second?
A second.
And Diane as well, or Diane?
Yes, it is.
Still.
All right.
You some snacks before
Wait,
the
wait,
pandemic.
Here we go. All right, I guess I'll make a motion to re-enter our general meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we're back in the meeting, and Marcia, you're driving.
I am driving.
Please.
Just going through the finances quickly, the revenues, I'm trying to close out the books, we have more revenues than what we had expected in our last June 25th. The biggest difference, taxes, we had one more week of collections from the 25th to the 31st. That was about 35,000. I did an accrual adjustment for accounts receivable. That was about 105. And we still have one more adjustment to revenue that we can't do until after 60 days after the end of the year, which is the 31st of August. So that number will still change a little. Licenses and but when I say a little, I'm thinking 20 grand maybe. The licenses and permits, we had 1 week remaining, plus the month-end closing is when we post the credit card revenues. So that was $50,000 more. Intergovernmental revenues went down. LoCIP, starting 2 years ago, we have to follow this. If we have a contract, we usually use LoCIP money for paving. If we have a contract over $50,000, we have to include CHRO rules in there, which says that they have to take 10% of the contract for underprivileged,
Minority, MBWA, minority business,
minority
women-owned
businesses,
enterprises.
and then there's another
Good thing.
percent, which I forgot exactly what the rules, we have a little flow chart for that. But we had a multi-year contract with the paving company, so last year I was able to find, other things in the capital that we could use for that. This year, I wasn't able to find, maybe 20 grand, but if we don't lose it, it's just, it won't be revenue in '25, but we're up, it's a new contract year this year. They understand, the company understands the rules, and so that'll be in the contract. So it'll be a 26 revenue instead of a 25 revenue. Town clerk, last week, they had $40,000 of conveyance taxes. Interest, the June was higher than projected. We're still earning an interest rate of 4.4% and 4.48% on the two banks. The ARPA roof, under ARPA, I have 90,000. I have to figure out, I made the adjustment, we weren't gonna spend it on the roof for the Board of Ed because it wasn't, we weren't gonna do it in time, so we spent it internally. I just have to sit down in a quiet time and figure out the accounting of it. Do I need an additional appropriation here, and how that will revenue go down and expenditures go down, or vice versa? And then other revenue, today, as a matter of fact, we got the PERMA distribution for year-end 2025. They don't do it every year, but some years they declare a dividend, and we got that. So that's the reconciliation of where we were before to where we are today. Expenditures that we didn't spend approximately $560,000 of our budget. And that's great that people are not at the end of the year just spending money to spend the money, and we want them to continue to do that. Of that 560, on the reports that last year we did manual encumbrances. Okay, I know, Brian, you said, though, the report says 515.
No.
but-
I just forgot the last number from last chart. I'm not
Oh,
fighting, don't worry.
okay.
I'm not fighting your ankles on this one.
Your aggregate's here,
The
710.
report does say 515 because I already posted the manual
It's
encumbrance.
okay.
So I posted the manual encumbrance on that report that you got. So, but I just wanted to gross it up to show you so we can talk about it. Last year, we did manual encumbrances for the legal fees, that they're the same cases, they're just being carried over. We had the money for them last year. The cases always get delayed. This is a very slow thing. So it's about 45,000 that we'll do in encumbrances. And again, it'll look weird that in that Munis doesn't do a good job with encumbrances, so I post them manually, and you'll see a negative for expenditures to start the fiscal year '26. The fire company, we're still working with them. The net that they haven't spent is 20,000. They actually did spend it, 30,000. They actually did spend it. Their EMS is under budget, and their fire is over budget. So some of the things where they're over budget, we'll be making a transfer so that we maximize and they spend everything that we budgeted for them. We're just working together on getting that done. There's a transfer I just hadn't posted yet to the Heart and Hypertension Fund for 20,000. So my estimate is 465,000. Where did that 465,000 not get spent? Contingency was 100,000. Highway Department fuel, or the things that were significantly under: fuel, equipment repair, and overtime. Police, all of their accounts are just a little bit, we have no option but to be under budget. All of their accounts are just a little bit under, so that added up to 65,000 in total. Utilities, hydrants, and a little bit in some of the other ones were under. Employee benefits, health insurance was under. Part of that was Steve changed the policy. It used to be that people were on the health insurance day one, and now it's day 30. So that's a few $1,000s for every new employee. And we already had that worked into next year's budget. And then just everything else is about 165,000 else, and we've got about 20 departments, but all of them are under budget by about, but under 20,000 each. Projected fund balance is, if we were here, that, I can't read that either. We started the year at 19.4%, and I've got this in an Excel that I'll bring up. And
You gave us a printout of it.
yep, and I'll bring it up separately in the Excel. But that's just putting all the variances together. On capital, we're just going through each project to see what it is that we can close. Do we have all the bills? Is the cutoff proper that, the year that it was, goods or services were received? Do we have all the receivables? Are they all billed? Are we following up on the receivables? We've got one from the state that that is from 2021 for Streetscape Phase 2. They're going to get back to us. Are there any grant reports? So we're just doing just a deep dive on every single capital project. And then transfers that it won't be at your September meeting because the Board of Selectmen have to go first and they move their meeting forward. So it'll be at the October meeting that we'll ask for final transfers for last year.
Go back. Let's just tie something up. I'm probably missing it. So on that sheet, on the expenditures, you have the town saving 514,000, right?
Yes.
Now go back to your other sheet, the one before that.
That's
465.
So it's, on this sheet, there's the 514 and then there's a 50 right under it for potential changes.
Okay, so that ties me back to,
465.
okay.
And so it's, if we were to add, these two are the 50. And then this one was already taken out, so that's why it's 515 on that first sheet. And I wanted to be able to discuss the encumbrances, so.
No, I'm okay, I just didn't,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all right.
You wanted to buy
That was
it.
gonna be a
No, it's good, it was just a different number that I just,
Correct.
that's all. All right, so when we go, no, go ahead.
Very good.
Now, stay on that sheet. So, Board of Ed, we gave them a bunch of money, they gave it back to us, essentially.
We believe they will. They haven't closed their books, but we believe that, and I confirmed as of yesterday that that's still a good number, that they should be giving that.
And what did we appropriate to them, about the same number?
Exactly, that's how I picked that unusual number. That, so there may be a little bit more that we get back. There's a meeting tomorrow night, and we have not received the report, or that
Okay.
particular report yet for.
So then, what is your 1.833 here at the bottom? What is that number?
That is the budget surplus between revenues and expenditures.
So 50% of that we go to,
If we're gonna do a transfer, it
I'm
comes
listening.
out before the 50%, because the 50% is the net profit for the year. How much goes into two different buckets of fund balance. But to be honest, we haven't used the second bucket, so they're all the same to us.
so, okay, thank you, I get that, but what if we just say we're not making any transfers? I'm just being devil's advocate.
From where we started.
50%, 900,000 is gonna go to the general fund, and we can put 900,000 in non-reoccurring.
So if we don't make any transfers, 900,000 would go to general fund,
Yeah.
don't touch it, and 900,000 goes to general fund if we need it for an emergency. But we've not pulled any from that, so we've got a lot in
But we-
there. And
right.
when we discuss fund balance, we may want to reallocate that.
But we can reallocate it out of there without it messing with our rating or messing with anything, because it's in a non-reoccurring bucket, right? It's not really in the general fund.
It is, no, this is in the general fund, that on the financial statements, there's assigned for, I forgot what the wording that we used, but so they're both in there. If we want to, we can take money in this yellow square and say, we want to take, X number of dollars, and I wouldn't go higher than 800,000. And the reason I wouldn't go higher than that, or if you wanted to do a little more, is we have rules on additional appropriations, that we couldn't do an additional appropriation for 900,000 without going to a town meeting, because we're capped at 10% of whatever line we're putting it in, or 40,000, whichever is higher. But a transfer doesn't have those same rules.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. We're gonna mix match a little bit now. Sorry, but we're at this point, and I apologize. We had a meeting about moving capital from your list
Right.
into this year. So what was that number we needed?
I actually sent you the file just as I was sitting here in your mail.
All this or just?
It was around 300,000.
This is what we had talked about,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if you were here
I
earlier or
wasn't
not.
here last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had talked about what projects we were gonna do, because we
Okay,
knew
I
we were
knew
gonna have,
that
bringing
discussion.
some.
yeah, we had it discussed, we were gonna
Okay.
bring some in instead of
Yeah.
paying it out, because we
Yeah.
had this surplus.
Yeah.
So Brian went through the projects, priorities of what had been
The
asked.
capital
and-
committee.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
capital committee had gone through and suggested about $300,000 worth
Right,
of
so
projects.
312. So there were those 5 projects, just to remind everybody, it was the extraction equipment for the fire company that we couldn't get in last year, pulling in the full senior center AC, remember we
Oh,
did that
yeah.
in 3
Yeah,
pieces, doing the whole
40,000,
thing.
Yeah, we had talked a lot
Yeah.
about these.
Yeah.
Actually redoing the whole town garage roof, we decided that instead of the police station, because what happens when the police station's up in the air? The town beach automated boat gate ramp, because they're having problems there. And then a plow for the cat for the park, so that was kind of just something to help parks out, so that's 312. And then I just made kind of the list of maybe the next ones, of which I because of the conversation we had earlier, I didn't know where it was going. The first one was if we wanted to try to pull in the Wiskaneer roof replacement, so that it was done in the 27-28 budget year, instead of, currently it goes out one more year than that, that we'd have to pull in about 200,000 to make that happen. But all that other stuff, we did not agree to, it's just the next tier
Yeah.
of things, if we wanted to do more than 300,000, which,
Is that the complete roof, the 193,000?
No.
No.
The roof's probably closer to a
Those-
million.
I think you were the most urgent, the ones that we thought we could get done.
All I
get
did
done
was just
quickly.
pull in the ones that were for next, there's two sets of roofs. One gets done over 3 years, one set, and I just shifted that all in 1 year, that's all.
Okay.
So whatever they said was the highest priority, I pushed it in.
So then if we're filling in that yellow box, that number's 312, right,
Right.
for projects that we pretty much vetted,
Right.
right? I mean, I don't think there's, and Mary, you okay with those projects we talked about? Eileen, I think,
Yeah, I'm just looking, I just have, the BHS Stairs to the stadium fields, has that been evaluated for safety? Because I did notice when I was there recently that I thought that should be a capital project. I don't know if that,
The stairs you're saying?
yeah, I don't know if that's a safety thing. I mean, you're
Yeah,
pretty
it was
good
not,
at.
it was on the list for next year, it wasn't on this year's
Okay.
request, so. But you're right, that's
On
kind of
there.
why I got it on there, yeah.
The Wisconsin Middle Schools are on the second, the additional opportunities. So if we
Yeah.
decided we wanted to move ahead with the solar, we
No,
could
but that's only
get
But
those.
that's only one
That's
section,
only
that's not
one.
gonna get you enough.
Yeah,
of
no,
it.
no, but you can do part of it, you do sections.
But, I mean,
You
they'll-
don't have to do the whole roof.
so go back to our yellow
They just wanna
box.
put equipment on a new roof, a pretty new
Yeah.
roof, because it's 20-year.
So if we were to put in there, 312, do an equal, because I'm gonna add to that. I'm gonna add to that.
Right.
312, 268, and then we say 250 for just anything we wanna maybe work with,
Right.
right? What's that number come to now? 562, and that raises our general fund, we're not at 20%
Almost half a
anymore,
percent.
but we're
19.52.
1952.
Better,
And we
still
started at
5.5,
1904.
yeah,
Up 0.5%.
0.5%.
See what we estimated when we did budget discussion.
While he's looking that up, do we have a total of the funds left from the new school? I know you were working with the baseball field, I know that was one of
Yeah.
your things, but do we have a total yet of what we have?
No,
When
I
do
can-
we
I
expect
can
that?
ask CNBC to give us a rundown,
Um,
right?
As
You
far
have-
as
did you
what
get a
we've
number?
spent and what we have left,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm balancing all those now. I haven't gotten to that fund, but it should be within the next week or two.
Okay.
Is that something now to look at the scoreboard with, that was we couldn't get the grant? Is that something that we can fit as a school project, that the school was funded?
How much was that, 90?
I don't know the
I thought it
numbers.
was like 52 or
50.
53.
Why am I thinking that?
I don't know, I'm just asking. This is just an ask. This
If you
isn't-
wanted to find that, we could find it someplace. I don't think we could do it out of CLES because even if we haven't spent it all, there's still contingencies and there's still encumbrances out there.
Well,
so,
that's what, I want clear
it-
money. I'm not looking to,
Yeah.
I'm not looking to
Yeah.
do that. If it was
You're getting
clear
a feel for
funds,
what might be
right,
left
that's
over.
not out there.
So we
Right.
do have clear funds, that we put some money aside for the electricity bill and we didn't end up using it. So we could transfer that money if we wanted to.
That's not included in this money.
That's not included in this money, that's already in capital, non-recurring.
Yes, okay.
And we were talking about using that if we had a match for some of these grants or.
How much is that?
250.
Is that the 250 just?
No, that's not in that number.
That's not there.
That's above that number. That's above the 180.
So where'd that 250 come from, I'm sorry?
We put,
Last-
we talked about,
last year-
because we didn't know what the electric bill was gonna be.
At
We
this
were
exact
afraid.
meeting.
In January?
That's what
And
we
where is
did.
Yeah,
it?
we
It's
did,
in
yeah.
CNR. Okay.
Okay, that's something we can think about
It's
in the
always
back.
nice to find money.
I mean, last year we went into this budget and I thought it was gonna be super tight last year and we wouldn't have anything.
No,
That's
it
what we
was
always
super
say.
tight. It was
Right?
operated well.
Yeah.
The budget was tight, the departments stepped up,
Yeah.
they're getting
Yeah.
the departments are really reacting to the discipline and controls, and they've bought into the process.
Oh, I have to tell you that I think that ours are head and shoulders above others that I've seen. That everyone respects the budget, everyone works to the budget, everyone's doing purchase orders. We had
Very
some
good.
things that were helpful, that people we had some vacancies, we had a nice winter, that wasn't really snowy, that.
But it's the buy-in from the
Oh,
employees.
absolutely.
It's the buy-in from the employees that are really respecting the budget and really going in and doing their job above and
They
beyond.
are, and we look at their expenditures really carefully.
Agreed.
And something will come up, I want to do this, and you, hey, Bill, come on in, let's talk, why are we doing this? Right? And understand what they're spending on. They are, they're really good at
It's
their
the buy-in
jobs.
from the departments. It's the
Yes.
buy-in from the employees that are really, and I'll have to say it, the Board of Ed stepped up their game.
Yep.
And they came back with what we gave them. So, I mean, they bought in too. So, I mean, it's kudos to them. We set the budget, but I don't think we were over budget. I think they worked within the controls of our budget.
Yeah.
We've always tried to budget to give them enough money to operate, to do their jobs, and they took it upon themselves to work within the budget. They
Yeah.
bought into it.
And,
Yeah,
and they know we're not gonna punish them in the future. Typically municipalities and government is, you give me $1 million budget, I'm spending every penny of it, because next year if I don't, you're gonna cut my budget. We don't do that with people.
Yeah.
We give each department the budget they need.
Yeah, and-
And they have a comfort level that if they don't spend it all, we're not going to start them at a disadvantage the next year.
And Casey and I were talking about this, we did notice that as a percentage, we're giving back more, that she was worried about how much they were giving back, so I think we're giving back more. But the issue becomes, is we have those purchase orders out there, and in our positions, we can't tell, we push to say, hey, start closing purchase orders in like April, but until those purchase orders are closed, we can't tell, are you really gonna use that, or you're not really gonna use that? And so that's why it's kind of a surprise at the end of the year, how much is given back on purchase orders.
No, that's all good work. So we're talking about right now, we don't have to make this move. We can think about this for until next meeting, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
until the October
Until the
meeting.
So-
Um,
I want, that's a number that we've talked about. I think we're comfortable with that. Marcia, why don't you go back and make sure that number seems to work for you?
Okay,
And Steve, you as
Yeah,
well.
we
So
will.
I mean, review that number, see if that works. I really don't, personally don't want to do more because I really want to make sure our general fund goes up a little and tick it up, right, a little
Yeah,
bit.
we didn't, really should unrestricted, so
Right.
I can't do apples, not apples to apples.
Right.
But still.
I'm just saying, I'd like to tick our number up when we have an opportunity. And we have this opportunity.
2-0 somehow feels a lot better than 19.5.
Yeah, so we want to
It
move
just
it.
does.
Right, but I think I like the idea we did to move some capital, right?
The
Took it
other
off the
250
list.
though is for other capital things that we just will discuss between now and then, or what's that 250?
That 250 would be for anything.
But this is
like
in
matching grants,
Yeah.
that sometimes, and we
That's
have
in
to come to
CNR.
you, we have to come to you first, that sometimes we need money for, if we're gonna apply for this grant, we need,
Yeah,
we
that's
need
it.
some
That goes into
engineering.
No,
that,
that's that.
I thought that was, okay. I thought that was going in there.
No, that's,
Okay,
yeah.
yep, good,
All right,
I'm good.
No, I think this looks good.
And then get a little bit in case we want to do
Yeah.
something
Yeah, yeah,
that comes up, so.
okay.
all right,
I didn't know that was under that.
and then, let me go
Okay.
back to this PowerPoint. All right, that we talked about the capital, working through that, and that includes the school, as all the grant accounts.
When you do the school, can you, and I get what you're saying, can you do, like, I know some's in contingency, there's still some risk and liabilities, but if there is a clear-cut bucket that's outside of the contingency, outside of the liabilities, outside, if that's a number, even if it's 50,000, can we know that number?
Okay.
I mean, I get, you might have to put risks against things, and
Yeah,
there's certain things, but is there some that you really see clear-cut?
Okay.
And I know you were looking at a baseball field, I don't know that
Yep.
number, so add that in, but
Yep.
I mean, if there's a clear cut 50, 20, or whatever, it would just be nice to know,
Okay.
that, you know, so, all right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Budget update, we don't know any big changes, there's some little things that we know about for 25, 26, but there's nothing, that we can't handle, as of today. And any questions on any of that?
Everybody else?
We're good.
Old business internal, we still gotta do that. That's on me for next meeting, to do that one. Transfers we mentioned, but we're gonna do them next month. After review, Marcia.
Not next month, October.
No,
because
October.
I won't have them in time.
So these, what we talked about tonight, we're gonna do in October.
Officially approve them in October. I'll put them in the draft statements that I'm.
Perfect,
hoping
okay.
to give you
When
next
do we
month.
know if we get any of these education grants that we apply to?
I talked to Casey about that yesterday. We did not get the oil tank grant. That was the first one that she applied for, and the reason is that you have to have failures, and it's cheaper to not have failures. So we didn't get that one. The roof
Makes
she
sense.
expects to put in, they're just revamping they had a meeting today, and I don't have the update from that, but they're revamping the specs or the engineered study. And so she thinks that request will go in September or October.
And that's matching they need for some of these
This
grants?
one, we've put the 100% in, the budget for these grants, and these were the priority, non-priority grants. If we can get some of those, we can reduce what it was that we're gonna bond for. We couldn't transfer it to, a scoreboard or something, because the bond is
No,
specific, but
right.
with respect to the matching, they've put in, for the COPS grant, $500,000 for some security purposes. And hopefully they hear soon, that they haven't heard anything yet. But that has a matching 20%. I think it's 20%, could be 25%.
So I guess I'm asking, and I don't know what I'm asking, is where do we have that money? I mean, I think we're all for it, it's just a matter
We have
of,
100% in the budget, so if we get it,
Oh, not for the
No.
COPS, nothing
No.
oh,
is.
for the other thing, right?
For the
Yeah,
other thing,
that's what
that we've never received this grant before, we've never applied for this grant before, so we don't know what it is that we'll be getting, and so if we get it, we're gonna have to do an appropriation for it.
so would it come from the Board of Ed special appropriation to you, then through us?
They would make a request of us, and then we go to the Board of
I'm
Selectmen,
just
and we
trying
send it
to
to you.
make sure we're
It
ready
would
for
go,
this,
yeah,
that's all.
that's the way it would go.
But that's where, like, this electricity money, we had talked about maybe 2 months ago, that they were going to be applying for this grant, and that's something that we could maybe use as a match for that.
Yeah, I think we're all for it, it's just a matter of making sure we have the bucket to take the money out of, that's all. I don't think there's a problem.
Yeah, that bucket was big enough at the time.
And those grants don't require town match ahead of the grant. You know how some grants say you have to have the boards approve the match before the...
Correct,
It's not one of those?
correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other items people want to talk about? Nope. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion meeting adjourned. We'll wait for Marcia to click it off.